do anything if you do it a bite at a time. That's how you eat an elephant, a bite at a time. There's two things you're going to do if you're going to win at wealth. You have good offense, you know how to build wealth, and you have good defense. You don't make stupid mistakes that cause you to lose money. Dave, what qualifies you to teach about this stuff? Well, I've got all the letters and licenses and the finance degree, but what qualifies me is I've done it. That's what qualifies me. I've been there. You know, we started working this stuff, we're never going back. Never going back. I'm not living like this. I'm never gonna put myself in a position.
I'm debt-free!
It's time to take a stand against debt. It's game on, you guys.
All right, good morning, New Life. And Maria's saying they actually gave him a microphone. Shaking her head. Hey, you know, after listening to Melinda's testimony, I've got to, we don't know what the future holds for any of us, but the best we can do is plan accordingly. Number one, you got to plan for your salvation, because every bit of this is going away. Everything you own, all you are is an asset manager of what God has blessed you with or allowed you to have. Because at one point in time down the road, it's going away. So, but you got to plan while you're here. So part of that planning, number one, is your spiritual planning. Without a doubt, that's the most important. But number two, you got to take care of things while you're here as an asset manager. And one of the things you got to take care of is you and your family. You know, Maria and I, back in 2003, Pastor Philippi here at New Life asked us if we'd put on the Financial Peace University course. Backing up a little bit, when I met Maria, my personal finances were in the trash can. Let me tell you, they couldn't get any lower than that. I mean, I was dead broke, had no job, nothing. I kept praying, Lord, I need out of this. Well, he introduced me to this wonderful woman who I ended up marrying, and with her by my side, I was able to climb out of that. We got married, did the thing like you're supposed to do, go out and get a house loan, get a home loan, buy a home. You got a car loan. You got a credit card, you put things on credit card. And our life went along like that. We ended up in Oklahoma, bought the house here. And then in 99, we moved to California. It was going to be a good move. Well, work didn't quite work out the way that we thought it was going to work out in 99 when we hit California. And by the time 1 year ended after we were there, in today's dollars, Maria and I had $39,000 in credit card debt. And jobs took us to Tennessee in 2000. We bought a house there, still had our house here. We couldn't sell it, so we'd leased it out. So now we bought a second house in Tennessee, started getting out of our credit card debt while we were in Tennessee. And then 2 years later, we ended up moving back here. Well, we had a house to sell down there, and it happened. It was right after 9/11 in 2002. So in 2001, when 9/11 happened, all the major corporations, and Memphis has a lot of them, they quit transferring people. That means the housing market went into the toilet. And it took us 11 months. Maria was living in Tennessee, and I was up here at a job, and we were driving back and forth trying to sell that house. 11 months later, we sold that house, and the only way we could sell it was to take a big loss on it. And at that point, we were saying, let's cut our losses and go. So we sold it, cut our losses, refinanced our house here. So 9 years later, in 2003, we owed the same amount on our house as we did when we bought it in 1994. So in 9 years, by the time we buried our debt, a truck loan and some credit card debt into that house loan, we owned the same on that house 9 years later. And we're like, 9 years was wasted, because we're right back in the same position. So when Pastor Philippi, back to the 2003 time frame, asked us to put on the Dave Ramsey course, you know, when you do a class and you teach it, who comes away learning more than anybody else? The person putting on the class, because you got to really study hard about it. So when Maria and I got done with that course in 2003, we kind of sat down finally. We had one of those corporate meetings at home that you should have. You know, a financial meeting that Dave Ramsey in his course teaches you that you will have, that are very uncomfortable, you know, and you sit down and you talk about finances. And we finally came to the point that we said, enough's enough. You know, we're tired of being in debt. We've lost a lot in the last 9 years, and we're just not going to do it anymore. So what we did at that time, we made a decision that we were going to do what we can, what Dave Ramsey said could happen through his program, and say we're going to get out of debt, including our house. So for the next 6.5 years, Maria and I, we didn't starve. We lived fine, eating wise and taking care of our utility bill and stuff like that. But every little bit of extra money we had, we disciplined ourselves and we put into our home loan. And 6.5 years later, we paid our house off. And so it didn't come overnight. It's like going to the gym and working out and getting healthy. It doesn't happen overnight. You got to keep going back and disciplining yourself to do it in a certain way. Pastor was saying earlier about when introducing it, our job as Christians to be here when God blesses us with all this stuff that we have. And when you sit back and look in this United States, we are so blessed of what we have. Everybody sitting here, everyone, even as you look at your credit card debt or what you personally have, from what people around the world have, He blesses us with so much. But He also gives it to us. We are asset managers. And He expects us as an asset manager to manage what He has blessed us with in a proper way and a good way, and to handle it. And part of that is that we exercise our Christian faith by, one, we tithe. And when you go through the Financial Peace University, you're going to find out Dave Ramsey is a very strong Christian, and he hits it from number one. Your budget will always include tithing. As you tithe, and then when you get out of debt, you do what you can to help those less fortunate and to help them get back on their feet and to love your neighbor and to do those things. So God, over the years, what Maria and I have gone through, and I can tell you, tithing, when we tithed, and there were months that we were paying stuff off, we look back on our budget and we're like, man, there were more bills than money, and how did we do that? I'll tell you, we didn't do it. God did it for us. There's nothing that has happened in our lives that God hasn't directed our steps, including our finances. So we don't stand here today before you and tell you that, that we've had an excellent marriage and we're great and wonderful. Our finances have been fantastic. We've had our crashes, our bad times, and we've had our financial challenges over the years, without a doubt. But we can tell you that once we turned it over to God and we prayed about it, and things don't happen overnight. You've got to have patience. God can create miracles overnight. He does it. I've seen Him do it. I've seen Him raise the dead. That's a whole other story on multiple occasions. But God can do that. But also God will let you go through a lengthy training session, if you will, to get into the right shape so that you know that you're going to carry it on for the rest of our life. Maria and I, those lessons we learned, we're going to use for the rest of our lives. And we have since we paid our house off in 2009. We've kept a lot of that, and we continue to do that today in those practices. So Maria's going to jump in here and tell you what the Financial Peace University is all about and what everybody learned.
Good morning, you guys. A few months ago, JB and I began to facilitate a course called Financial Peace University. It's a 9-week program that has been around for over 3 decades, taught by Dave Ramsey and his team. The goal of the course is to learn how to budget, how to pay off debt, how to invest wisely through a series of in-person weekly classes and video sessions. 17 people began the class, ranging in age from early 20s to mid-60s. If you have attended that class and you're here today, could you just stand up, please? We are so proud of these individuals, so proud of them. Thank you. We have a little something for them at the end of this session, but I wanted you to see the variance in what we had. We began with anonymously reporting our debt. And to our chagrin, we had several $100,000 worth of debt in that particular class. This is including your credit cards, your student loans, your car notes, everything except your home. We also reported that we had over 50 credit cards in that 17-person class. So we knew how to use that plastic right there pretty well. That may sound excessive, but actually that's the norm in today's world. Living with debt and incurring debt is the world's way. Look at how many people live from paycheck to paycheck. Society tells you, put it on the card. You can pay for it later. Go ahead. It doesn't matter what the car costs. It's what's your monthly payment. Can you afford that monthly payment? Go for it. You don't even drive the car. You work at home, but go ahead and pay $600 a month for a car payment. That's how society says to live. Spend thousands on Christmas and on vacation. It doesn't matter. That's what that credit is there for. Get that big line of credit so that you can buy what you want when you want. I talk to people here in December, and they say, I'm still paying on Christmas from last year. Debt is stupid. That's just kind of the bottom line. And we have to learn how to not be normal. One of the sayings that Dave Ramsey will say is, live like no one else so that you can live and give like no one else. So when we say that, we're talking about doing things that isn't normal within society by not using, cut up your credit cards. Oh my gosh, who would do that? We want to be able to have that in case of a emergency, absolutely. So we think about those things, living like no one else, saving money, and what a novel idea. Don't buy something unless you have the money for it. Who'd have thought? Living like no one else so that when you do pay off your debt and you have no car payment, credit card, student loan, even a house payment, how you can live like no one else. Think of the people that you can bless. So if I can just ask you right now, what would you do if you did not have any car payments, no credit card debt, you owe nothing on anything, credit card, no medical bill debt, no student loan debt, and only had your house payment? How would that feel? Pretty awesome. And then add to that, I don't have a house payment. How would that feel? So what could you do with that? Think of the people that you could bless without those obligations, and you can do this. Thousands of people have implemented the fundamentals of this course and have changed their lives, and you can too. Just an overview of the course, it's a series of baby steps. 7 baby steps. You don't move on to the next step until you complete the one before it. Topics are divided into baby steps, and each step is designed to teach and train the participants in changing or doing something to address or adjust their financial habits. So baby step 1 is learn how to budget. And some of us have never had a budget. We just have never done that. But learning how to budget, and then you identify in a relationship, typically there's 2 types of individuals. You have the nerd, which is the person who loves data sheets and Excel spreadsheets and wants to crunch the numbers and wants to talk about interest rates. And then you have the free spirit, who likes to spend money, who enjoys spending money and does it quite well. But we can agree with that. The balance, how great is that there is value to each of those personalities. So you learn a little bit about that personality when you begin, then you learn how to budget. And then your baby step number 1 is save $1,000 for an emergency. We went through the Dave Ramsey, we saved our $1,000, and we're like, oh gosh, we got $1,000 sitting here. What are we going to do with that? What do you mean an emergency? The next day, the air conditioning went out. It was going to cost $900 to fix it. Had $1,000, took care of that emergency, which was so great to not have the pressure, because otherwise we would have just put it on the credit card, right? So we had that $1,000, that emergency fund of $1,000. Many of our participants started with this baby set already done. They already had $1,000 sitting there. Good for them. The second baby step is to pay off all of your credit cards, your student loans, your debt, using the debt snowball. And what that is you take your smallest amount, that pennies credit card that's $300, and then you've got those other credit cards that are a lot higher, and you pay off that $300 one. All your resources, minimum on everything else, all your resources goes into that $300. Pay it off, done. It's already been cut up. It's out of here. Then you move to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Building up that momentum to pay off your credit cards. I want to acknowledge Miss Lucinda, and she said she's a little shy. She didn't want to come up here. She only had 3 credit cards, totaling about $3,000. But during the course of this 9 weeks, she paid off all of her credit cards. She went and cut all of her credit cards up. And further, she found bunches of little pockets of coins and things in her home that she had just gathered a little bucket of coins and took it to the bank and got over $1,500 in coins. So you know those things add up. So kudos to you, Lucinda. Really, really good job. So that's baby step 2. Remember, we don't go to the next one until we get done. So lots of us spend a lot of time on baby step 2, getting rid of that credit card debt or the student loan debt. Then baby step number 3 is save up 3 to 6 months of your operating expenses. If it's $5,000 to run your household, save up $15,000 to $30,000 in household expenses. Because what could you do if you lost your job and you didn't have to worry about getting a job right away? Would you be able to look and be more selective and maybe make a better decision? You wouldn't have the stress, I got to get something, I got to go sell pizzas, I got to go deliver, DoorDash, I have to do something because I'm stressed. But you have 3 to 6 months of savings there, so that's baby step number 3. 4, 5, 6, and 7 is simply going into detail about retirement, kids' college fund, and paying off your home. And 7 is actually about investments, how to build your wealth. So those are the process and the baby steps of that. Living debt-free is the greatest feeling that you will ever have, and it will afford you the opportunity to bless others as you want to. The participants of this course were focused, they were intent, and they made some awesome decisions. And I want to acknowledge we have 2 sets of individuals, Alora and Justin, and Caleb and Haley. Young people. And oh my gosh, Alora and Justin might have had a few things on their mind in the course of going through this in planning their wedding, but they came to everyone, I think, except one when you were on your honeymoon, and I guess we forgave you for that, but came to every course in preparing. Here they are planning their wedding and learning these fundamentals on how to be financially secure. Caleb and Haley, they have been doing fantastic, and we love the energy of the new people, young people, being able to just take charge of your finances so early. We didn't start getting serious until our 40s, and here's 2 couples that in their 20s realized the importance of that. So kudos to you guys. Really well done. I'm going to call Miss Andrea up because she, sometimes it's better to hear from people themselves as to what changes they might have made or what aha moments that they might have had. And so Miss Andrea had quite a few aha moments that we're pretty excited about.
I am a single mom, so all the pressure's on me to make the right financial decisions. But back in December of 2020, when my husband passed away, we had always had life insurance. He worked for the railroad, so he carried the medical and all of that, and then I carried the extra and made sure we had life insurance because you just never know. And then he passed away, and come to find out we didn't have life insurance. So that was very scary, very, it led to uncertain times for me and for my son. So one of the first things I did was run out and get life insurance, but I didn't really know what to get, how much to get, what kind or whatever. So going through the Dave Ramsey class, he doesn't like whole life insurance. He likes term life insurance. And I had ran out and got whole life insurance without really understanding it. So one of the things that I really gained from the class was to learn how to prepare myself for emergencies, make sure that I've got things in line that need to be the life insurance, and even life insurance for my son, because you just never know. And that's a great example of that, it could catch you when you least expect it. So that was one of the things that I got out of the class. I also, by getting the correct life insurance, I'm saving about $40 a month just on insurance. And then I also utilize the resources that they have for car insurance. I saved, I think, about $30 a month. And on the life insurance that I got, I actually got 2.5 times the amount. So for less money, yeah. So it was a huge blessing to go through this class. It took some of the weight off of my shoulders because I'm now a little more prepared.
Excellent. So. Well done. Good job.
You know what she said about finding out about the cheaper insurance? That is one of the benefits of the Dave Ramsey course. Is for 1 year after you take the course, it's free. You can call up their financial consultants. They'll walk you through the different insurance companies that they've already researched, and they can help you out to make some better financial decisions in that area. So,
Rachel, if you'll work your way up here, we're going to allow her to share. So she has some great testimony as well. And anyone else within the course who wants to say anything, let me know right after Rachel, and we'll bring you up here. And then we have the pastor. Oh, you forgot her notes.
Just to let you know, Rachel was nominated and was awarded the queen of the number of credit cards in the whole class.
I don't think that needed to be shared. But you gave him a mic, so it's really. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't do public speaking. I'm very nervous.
Hold
I'm
it
so
a little
sorry.
bit closer to you.
So I'm so sorry. I'm very nervous. I don't do this. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to have to ask you to go sit with my husband because he's about to hear some information that he has not heard yet, and he's going to need your support. I did. I started out with 9 credit cards and almost $20,000 in credit card debt. When it came time to, I'm shaking, I'm sorry guys. When it came time to cut those credit cards up, I was in tears. My credit cards were my life. I lived for my credit cards. There was only one of them that my husband agreed to get. And that was the very first one we got. Every time I would say something about getting another credit card, he would say no. But, you know, sometimes we don't always follow instruction. So I did cut those up. During the Dave Ramsey program, he was talking about your 401k and when you should contribute to that and this and that. So what I have done is I put a stop. I was contributing $240 per pay period to my 401k. I put a stop to that, and I have started applying that to my debt. I've been able to pay off $3,000 in debt.
Yeah.
One of the other things he talked about was the insurance, medical insurance. I have carried our insurance because, for those of you who don't know, I do work for a insurance company. Shh, that's a secret. So I've always carried our insurance. And I have considered looking at an HSA account or insurance type before, but I was always like, no, I'm not going to have that big old deductible. I'm not doing that. I like my little $40 copays, you know, whatever. So I decided to go ahead and check into it. The company I work for does give us $1,000 to go toward our HSA account, and then we can contribute to it as well. My insurance, when I was with the PPO policy, I was paying $609 a month for my insurance on a PPO policy. I looked into the HSA, and when I compared the HSA to the PPO policy, my HSA is only going to be $233 a month. And then I'm going to have the $1,000 from my employer to help with the first $1,000 in expenses. The last thing, this is where Jeff is going to need your support, JB. I will admit it, I'm a huge shopper. I shop, spend. Every time I leave the house and I come home, Jeff wants to look at me and say, I'm telling JB you bought that. So this time, honey, I'm sorry, but JB knew before you did. Black Friday, I went shopping. I had planned on spending $300. I ended up spending $1,011.82. When I added that up and discovered how much I had actually spent, I was planning on $300, y'all, $300. When I added it up and realized how much I spent, I panicked. Oh my gosh, where are my credit cards? What am I going to do? I don't have one. How am I going to live this week? I spent every bit of the money. Not really, but I panicked because I was used to having my credit cards to fall back on. Not having those was not a good feeling. However, in the end, I didn't have them, but I didn't need them due to Financial Peace University. I was able to spend that money on Black Friday and be okay.
Awesome. Good job. Good job. So she had the money in her debit. She was using her debit card, and so she was able to spend that money and not even have to touch the credit card. So she sent me a note when she was doing that, and I said, I am just so proud of her. So I just say, we say that to say, if you're interested in Financial Peace University, like JB said, a great analogy is just because you buy the gym membership doesn't mean that you lose 50 pounds and you have a six-pack abs. Just because you buy the membership, you got to actually go and use the membership, right? Same thing with the application and fundamentals of financial peace. It's solid. It's been proven. You will do what you choose to do in this particular course. If you're interested, go to the Planning Center, sign up for it. We don't know when we're going to have another class, but if we get enough people that are interested, we'll certainly make that happen soon. But if you're interested, sign up for it. We'll put you in the queue for the listing of the new one. There will never be a better feeling that you have when you can actually see someone in the store, someone you don't even know, who is buying tires for their car, and it's clearly going to be a struggle for them, and you can turn right around and do that for them anonymously or however that you choose. That will mean more to you than any shopping that you're going to be able to do.
We look at 2 Kings. The Bible talks a lot about money. The Bible's an awesome book. God's Word, you can cover anything in life in there. But in 2 Kings it says, she came and told the man of God, and he said, go sell the oil and pay your debts, and you and your sons can live on the rest. Maria and I just recently, as you all know, we're getting ready to go into retirement. Well, somebody's been playing for 2.5 years in it, but somebody else has still been working. But we're getting ready to go totally as a couple into retirement. And part of that process as we're getting ready to move is we got to downsize. And you know what? And the pastor and Amy and us, we've been talking about that. And they've recently done the same thing. You find out that all this stuff that you have, that you've been carrying around and you've been moving and stuff that we've moved for 35 years, it's like, I don't really need it. And once you get rid of it, it's like, wow, I don't even need it anymore. And it's been, what this verse tells us is, sell the oil and pay your debts. If you've got debts, you're striving under a lot of debts, one thing Dave Ramsey will tell you is downsize, sell some of your stuff, and get out of debt. You know, when you have debt, the Bible tells us that you're the slave to the lender. God wants us to have one slave master, and he wants it to be him. He wants us to worship him and to follow him. He doesn't want us to be held back and to be controlled by anybody else. He's a jealous God. He wants us for him. And so we don't want to be the slave to the lender. So the Bible teaches that.
So in closing, we just want to say we have appreciated everyone who attended the course. We have people now that are working extra overtime, not just sell the stuff you don't need, but you know what? Guess what? You get another job. You know, during that time, both of us did extra stuff on the side, and all that money goes toward paying those debts. You do what you have to do and what you can do, and I know some of our participants in the class are doing just that, is getting out of debt the way that they can. I just want to close with one story that really kind of just symbolizes how important this is. You know, we have 3 grandgirls. And at the time that we got finished and got out of debt, we said we want to take a family vacation. We want to take our son, his wife, and the 3 girls to Disney World. We want to pay for the airfare, the hotel. We want to pay for the 4-day pass. We just want to have a great, and we want to pay for it before we go, because you don't want those vacations following you home. You don't want Christmas to follow you into March. You want to take care of it ahead of time. And so we were able to do that, but 2 years before that, we were teaching the little ones, and they were 10, 8, and 2. Teaching them, we had a big, huge bucket, the water bucket that you put on top of the water cooler, the big plastic bucket. We cut off the top and decorated it with, the girls and I decorated with Disney stickers and all of that. And I said, whenever you come over, I said, drop your coins, bring some money for the bucket, because we're saving for Disney World. So they would come over and they'd drop in their nickels and dimes and quarters, and of course we helped supplement throughout that 2-year time period. Then at the end of 2 years, right before we got ready to go, the middle one, who was 8, Zeta, I said, bring your wagon over, we're going to go cash in your Disney bucket. And she brought her wagon over, we put it in the car, we put the bucket in the car, went to the bank, and she pulled that little wagon up to the teller and said she was there to cash in her Disney money. Or their Disney money, the families. And so the cashier, the teller, was wonderful. Let her go in the back with her and showed them pouring it into the machine, and let her push the button to count it all. So we came back out and sat at the table, and the person, the teller, said, so how much do you think that you have? She goes, well, I think we have at least $100. And she said, well, if you have more than that, can I have the rest? And Zeta was like, really struggling, but it was a cute time. And what had happened was they had saved over 2 years over $500 in just nickels and dimes and quarters and dollars and things that were thrown in there. As she was pulling the empty bucket back out, and we were putting it in the car, she said, Yaya, what can we start saving for next? And to this day, that young girl, I hope that had the impression, but that young girl is very financially responsible, very financially aware. So I say that to say, as parents and grandparents, we have an obligation to set an example, to model what it looks like not to be a slave to the lender, to show our children and our grandchildren that we want to leave that legacy too, of being debt-free and not owing on things. So I just want to thank the people that came, and I hope you enjoyed it, and we were delighted to be able to put on the course. And Pastor, I think you have a token for each of them. If you attended the financial piece either one day or as a guest, please come forward. Pastor wants to present you with something. And I'll let you say whatever you
Lost my mic pack. You guys can all just go ahead and come up on the platform with us. There's enough room for everybody. So we went ahead and we got these coins, and on the front it says "Debt is dumb, cash is king," and on the back is the Dave Ramsey saying, live like no one else now so you can live and give like no one else later. And it's got the 7 baby steps on here. And this here is just something, I believe that everybody got their completion certificates, but we wanted to give them a little something else, whether that's going to keep it in their pocket to remind them it's not that big, or to keep it in their car or wherever, just to kind of remind them. Will doesn't like it when we say this, but cash is king. He doesn't like that because he sells cars. But these here were some amazing principles. And so if you guys can just grab one of those, actually I'm going to take one and keep it too. So there you go. So. Jeff, Rachel, I told Amy, I said, we need to leave our calendar open for some couple counseling. So.
I know.
I didn't make it look like a poker chip. That's how it came. So, yeah, so, hey, can we just kind of give a round of applause for these guys and all their hard work? So, yeah. Yep. Anything that anyone else wants to share? You guys weren't ready, but anything? Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.
You know, Pastor, one last thing, just so the church knows. You know, as individuals on the Dave Ramsey program, teaching how, you guys go ahead and leave, how to be financially responsible. We are truly, truly blessed at the pastor that we have here at the church, because as a church, we have to be financially responsible too. And I tell you what, Pastor Bell, being on the board for several years and was here when he got here, on his heart is he wants this church to be debt-free also. And that's his drive, and that's his vision for this church, to be able to have a point in time. And he has worked hard over the last 5 years, 5.5 years with the board, to where I think our line of credit is down to nothing now, or pretty close.
It's getting close.
It's getting pretty close.
Yeah.
And we're hammering away at the rest of it. So having a leadership here at this church that has the same heart as individuals like the Financial Peace University teaches is a blessing here at church. And thank you for your heart and your leadership in that area.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about where this applies as a church, because I was asked shortly after getting here, hey, whenever what is one of your goals for your first year? And 2 of them were to implement term limits for the board. I just felt that was something that we needed to shift. And second was to get the credit card debt paid off. There was somewhere around $10,000 to $12,000, and so I got here in June, and by our annual business meeting in March, we were able to celebrate, hey, there's no more credit card debt here. And so we just really wanted to just kind of really hit that hard. So then we turned our attention to the line of credit. And we've been chunking away at that and just seeing what God has done there, and just remarkable things. I can tell you is that there will be some challenges for those of you who do. There are some people who have the discipline to use a credit card the way that it's supposed to be used. I do want to say that. What I mean is, you're going to use it, you're going to get what you need, you're going to pay it off, you're going to rack up those miles, you're going to look, any way to get free money and free stuff, do it, but it comes with discipline. And so there are some challenges to only having debit card in the beginning. I found one of those whenever we wanted to go to Ohio. Amy and I used a credit card for a while to rack up miles while we were flying back and forth from here to Ohio and so on. And then there came a point where we wanted to be done with that. As I went to get a rental car, I couldn't do it with just a debit card. They wanted credit card. I thought I found a workaround by being able, one of these said, well, so after I made my reservation with just a debit card and I got there, I thought I could sweet talk them when I got there. They're like, so do you have a return flight? I live here. I don't have a return flight. I live here and I'm renting a car. Wasn't able to do that. Some of the other car rental agencies said, yes, you can use a debit card if we run a credit check on you. Well, that's dumb. So thankfully I was able to find, if you're wondering, Enterprise in Owasso, if you're an Oklahoma resident, will allow you to rent with a debit card on their vehicle. So there you go for that, because sometimes that can certainly be a challenge. For our church, we are looking at getting out of debt as quickly as we possibly can. You are making a run at that happening. It's not just me, it's not just Melinda, but it is our generosity that is helping with that. Here's one thing that comes with this Financial Peace University that I talked with Melinda about is, first and foremost, we are going to pledge to do this course at least once a year moving forward. Maria mentioned that it's going to be on Planning Center. It's not quite there yet, but at 12:45, you will get a text message if you're interested. It's coming out 12:45, and there's a link there if you're interested in that. So we are committing to do this course at least once a year moving forward as a church. Number two is we have a goal that there's some courses that they have that individuals can do similar courses on their own online, not with the facilitator and all of that. That is a pretty huge investment. That's not cheap to do that. But as a church, we want to work to be able to get that license so that every person who calls New Life Assembly home, if they've not done it, we can give them the license and the logins to go in and do that course, and that every new member of the church from that time forward gets to be able to take these classes. We want to make that investment for Financial Peace University back into the church. That's how much we believe on this system. And so it might take us some time to get there, but that's our goal financially as a church. Many of you know that recently Amy and I sold a 2,100 square foot house that was finished and completed in late 2016. We moved in 2018. 5 years later, decided that we would sell that house and buy a fifth wheel camper and live in that. And it turns out that my wife doesn't need a gigantic 3-wall walk-in closet. It's amazing that we have discovered that. And so we too are wanting to help model this as well, and to just be along the journey with everyone there. So let me bookend kind of what's been talked about today with some scriptures to just kind of drive this thing home as we kind of wrap things up here. Proverbs 21:5 tells us that the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. If you want to escape debt, you have to plan for it. And making those quick decisions is going to lead down a road that you really don't want to go down. I covered this during the Sermon on the Mount series, but Jesus tells us, hey, listen, in Matthew 6:24, no one can serve two masters. For either he will hate the one and love the other, or he will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and money. Don't work for money. Get to the point where your money works for you. Okay? And I know that Ramsey covers all of that stuff as well. And so, whenever our money works for us, we're able to be more generous people. Proverbs 13:12 tells us that hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a desire fulfilled is a tree of life. It may hurt a little bit to wait on some of those things that you want to do and you want to achieve and those things, but when you get there, it's such a great feeling to have. It is so good to be able to do those things that you want to do through financial goals. And so Hebrews 12:11 says, for the moment, all discipline seems painful rather than pleasant. but later it yields the peaceful fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. Many of you that went through the class, you know that trying to get yourself mentally prepared for that, it's a struggle, it hurts, it's a little bit painful, and so on and so forth. But stick with it, and it's going to be good. And Romans 12:2, one of my favorite verses. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Can I tell you that the will of God is for His people, regardless of the amount of money that they have, is for His people to be generous with what He's given them. It doesn't matter if you live here, or it doesn't matter if people are trading goats and chickens somewhere. However it is, He wants us to be generous with that. The world says, accumulate, accumulate, accumulate. God says, renewed by the transforming of your mind. And so, hopefully this has encouraged you today by seeing your own church family up here, hearing some incredible medical testimonies. Look, go talk to those people. You saw someone up here right around your age, go talk to them. Ask them how it was. Ask them how they got through that. I can tell you this thing as well, is that for these people who are on this journey, those who they went through with as friends, they're going to do really well because they're going to stick together and they're going to make sure on those things. And so hopefully today has just been a great day. Props to all of you Financial Peace University graduates there, and look forward to more and more people because God is beginning to shift our church when it comes to giving and generosity, and God's laying some things on my heart. More that's going to come out in 2024, but God has laid a crazy miracle amount on my head and in my heart for 2026 for this church, and so super excited to just share that with you as we roll into the new year. So